too fat, out of shape, and addicted to coke. That's how young Nikola was before being drafted into the NBA. Fast forward to today, and the crafty big man has turned into an absolute superstar. Let's take a look at his journey from being an overweight kid to becoming an MVP. Born in Sombor, Serbia, Jokic developed a love for basketball early on from his family. Surprisingly, he actually had an active lifestyle. With two brothers almost a decade older than him, Jokic never had to sit around in his house and was constantly moving around. From his photos, Jokic looked anything but active. He's probably the last person you would expect to one day dominate the NBA courts. At the time, even Jokic didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. He had multiple hobbies, including horse racing, which he still holds a passion for to this day. In fact, Nikola's journey from Serbia to the NBA was one of extreme talent and hard work, culminating in a 3-year stint in the Serbian league before he even got a chance to go to the NBA. When he got drafted, he was so unknown that ESPN actually aired a Taco Bell commercial instead of showing the Nuggets drafting him as the 41st pick in the 2014 draft. Although the young Serb was making waves in Europe, it would be a complete year before Jokic could join his team in the States. In the summer of 2015, Jokic arrived as a 295-pound man who was overweight and out of shape. The big man was so addicted to soda and candy that he literally was consuming an entire gallon of Coca-Cola a day. Knowing this, the Nuggets staff put him on a strict meal plan and program that would have him lose over 40 pounds while decreasing his body fat percentage from a whopping 21% all the way down to 9%. This was an absolute game changer and turned him into a completely different player. From the start, his abilities were on full display, and although he didn't have the passing confidence that has come to characterize the Joker in the modern NBA, you could still see signs of a great player underneath. At the season's end, he finished third in NBA Rookie of the Year votings, but if there was ever a time to prove himself, it was now or never. Jokic's improvement next year was visible to all. Suddenly, you had this huge mass with shifty footwork that could slice apart your defense if you weren't careful, and the entire NBA world was on notice. This was the time when Nikola started to rack triple-doubles left and right, finishing fourth in this category right behind LeBron James, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. Everybody noticed how this young Serb was playing with maturity rarely seen in sophomore players. But Jokic wasn't playing professionally for the first time. In fact, this wasn't even his sophomore season. If you wanted to be technical about it, it was more like his 5th or 6th season playing amongst the pros, which helped tremendously in giving him experience. Regardless, Nikola still had a lot to learn before he was ready to become the Joker. Although he would finish second in the most improved player category, it wasn't enough. He needed to prove that he was a franchise player. The statement would come when, in the 2017 NBA season, Jokic scored a career-high 41 points against the Brooklyn Nets. This outburst would continue throughout the season as the Nuggets made a push for playoff glory. Denver would cling to their 8th seed spot for the majority of the season, but the Timberwolves with Jimmy Butler were close on their heels, and it certainly looked as if we were heading for a huge clash. The NBA gods didn't disappoint, and we got a nail-biting battle between the two teams. It was a historic moment, as it was the first final day play-in game in the last 21 years where the Nuggets faced the Timberwolves with Butler and Karl Anthony Towns. Even though Jokic would finish with 35 points and 10 rebounds, the Timberwolves played him physically to slow him down. But this is where Nikola truly showed his class and let nothing bother him, completing his transformation into the Joker. The Nuggets would force a huge comeback that series, winning 6 games in a row to force a Game 7 where they lost by a mere 4 points. This was the Nuggets' first time in making the playoffs in 5 years, and they knew that if they wanted to keep winning, they had to bet on their future star in the Joker. When Jokic signed a 5-year, $148 million maximum contract extension with the Nuggets, it was game time. The Nuggets had shown that Nikola was their franchise player for the future, and the pressure was truly on the young Serb. The Joker would defy all expectations when in the second game of the season he recorded a ridiculous triple-double of 35 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists without missing a single field goal. That night, Jokic joined the historic company alongside Wilt Chamberlain as the only players to have made a triple-double of 30-plus points without missing a single field goal. This historic tear would continue, with Jokic breaking historic records left and right. In particular, his assist and triple-double rates were never seen before in the NBA, and by just his fourth season, he had moved beyond Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to second place on the NBA all-time triple-doubles list by a 7-footer. This rampage through the NBA culminated in his first All-Star appearance, which, if we're being honest, he deserved the year before. Jokic would overcome these misconceptions about his supposed laziness and weight gain and show the world what a menace he could be. This was never more visible than in the playoffs, where Jokic's ability to slow down the game, control the pace, and dictate the offense would be instrumental in their first-round win against the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs have always been a no-BS team. Under Popovich, the Spurs have rarely been stopped, and even if Duncan had been retired by this point, they were still a formidable and experienced team. If you could beat the Spurs, then that meant you were a damn good team. And that's exactly what the Nuggets did. They allowed the Joker to control the offense, and the Spurs really had no answer for the dynamic serve. All the criticism he had been facing for his body and playstyle turned into praise. Now, he wasn't lazy. He was methodical. He wasn't fat. He was strong. He wasn't a dumb oaf, but a maestro at work, who dictated the pace of the game. Jokic became the first player since LeBron James to record a triple-double in his playoff debut. Yet, if it wasn't clear enough, this was just his playoff debut, and he was already playing like a veteran. Although the Nuggets would eventually lose in 7 games to the Portland Trail Blazers, the NBA world knew that the Joker was here to stay and that the joke all along had been at their expense. The next year, Nikola led his team in a historic comeback for the ages against the Los Angeles Clippers, who were championship favorites at this point. The 3-1 comeback solidified Jokic's reign at the top of the league and also signaled the arrival of his Robin, Jamal Murray. The 2020-2021 NBA season looked as if it was Nikola's championship for the taking, and it certainly started like one, with the Joker recording 4 triple-doubles in his first 6 games. Jokic continued his tear through the NBA, scoring career highs like they were nothing but on a team level. The Nuggets were struggling with injuries. Despite all this, Nikola's push for the playoffs was historic, and the Nuggets finished with the 3rd seed. On a personal level, the season had been a tremendous success for Jokic. He ended the season as the double-double leader and was only behind Russell Westbrook with 16 triple-doubles of his own. Unbelievably, Nikola led the league in all major advanced metrics such as PER, win shares, offensive win shares, and box plus-minus. But the eye test was even clearer. Jokic was a superstar we had never seen the likes of before in the NBA. Even without Murray and Will Barton, the Nuggets were able to advance to the second round and face up against the Phoenix Suns, where they would be eliminated. It wasn't all bitter as Jokic was soon announced as the regular season NBA MVP, a sign that the NBA finally recognized how special he truly was. This story would soon repeat itself a year later when the Nuggets would make a valiant push again, but without Murray and other supporting cast. The Nuggets were eliminated. What we see in Nikola Jokic's career is the story of a man who has constantly had to withstand the pressure and expectations of a foreign audience, mostly without his second-best player beside him. But what makes him a force to be reckoned with is why is he winning MVPs left and right without making significant playoff pushes? The answer lies in the completeness of his game, the mastery he has achieved in controlling the pace of not just his own body, but also the entire basketball court. As a center, Nikola is an evolution of the big man. He still is one of the most powerful players on the court, but he has adapted to the speed and agility required to compete on the highest level. His passing ability is second to none, and many have called him the greatest passing big man of all time. In fact, Jokic is a jack of all trades that can strengthen the team from whichever angle the coach sees fit. This is precisely why the Joker is such an asset to any team. He can relieve the pressure from your ball handlers, score, rebound, and even be physical when required. He's clutch in dire situations, and most of all, he's a competitor unlike any other. In any case, we know the Joker isn't satisfied with bagging another MVP award. In fact, he's probably fuming at his recent exits from the playoffs. And if we know anything about the Joker, he won't let anyone but himself have the last laugh. If you guys enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to check out another one right here on the screen. Go ahead and click it. It's free.